Hi, welcome. Today we are talking about crystals and crystal energy, and specifically how to use a crystal pendulum and how I like to use a pendulum in my day-to-day life. My name is Carla. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you are watching this, I'm so glad you are here. And thanks for joining me as we talk about all things crystals and energy. So, getting started, using a pendulum. If you have not used a pendulum before, don't be intimidated because it is super easy. And the first time I saw this, it was mind blown for real. I was like, are you kidding me? This is crazy. So when I first learned this, I did not have a crystal pendulum. So crystal pendulums can come in many different any mineral there is out there. This one is labradorite. I have a clear crystal one. So these three that I'm showing are the ones that have been kind of my go-tos lately. This one is a blue goldstone. It's so shimmery, sparkly, and you probably can't see it, but there's some gold in there. Very pretty. Beside the point, when I first started, I did not have a pendulum in my collection. But I did have this little necklace. It's a little fluorite, just a little fluorite necklace that I got somewhere cheap at a crystal shop or online. And somebody told me it doesn't even need to be a crystal. If you have a pendant that you like, something that you can use to direct the energy through. So to use a pendulum, the first thing you have to understand is how to use it. So what I typically do is you can hold it over an object, or if I'm asking a question, I'll hold it over my hand. And what the pendulum does is it directs energy based on your questions. So it's a connection to divine energy, divine spirit, your higher self, however you want to phrase it in your world. I look at it as connecting to my higher self and my higher wisdom. So the first thing you want to do once you've gotten something that you can use as a pendulum is hold it up over your hand, and we're just going to see how the energy works. And I'm going to hold it here, and we're going to establish our yes and no. So it's going to go in different motions depending on what you're asking and what the answer is. So the first thing I'm going to do is say, show me yes. And for me, yes is the pendulum goes in a clockwise motion. Stop. Now show me no. For me, no is back and forth. Stop. Show me maybe. For me, maybe is up and down. And all of these might be totally different for you. They might go different directions. But the important thing is to establish what it is for you. And then I also ask it something I don't know. If it's a I don't know question, then it'll go in a counterclockwise direction for me. So it's important to understand how your pendulum moves to your answer to your questions. If you ask a question and you are getting, I don't know, or I can't tell, or whatever not a straight yes or no, try rephrasing the question so that you can narrow it down a little bit more. So now I've established which direction it wants to go. We're going to start with some simple yes and no questions. Just to verify that you're actually getting some accurate information. So here's some test questions. So we're going to say, my name is Carla, and I'm getting a yes response. So if I stop, if I say, my name is Susan, I get an incorrect response. Stop. I live in Mexico. I don't live in Mexico. Stop. I live in Michigan. I do live in Michigan, so I'm getting a yes for that. So ask it those types of questions that are clearly yes and no, that you know the answers to before you start trying to get guidance from your pendulum. So I'm going to put my little fluoride aside and use, I think I'll use my clear quartz just for some testing here. So when you go to use your pendulum, it's good to take a breath and kind of ground a little bit before you ask the questions. If you want to, get some energy going in your hands, that's always a good idea. Make sure you are greeting your pendulum and thanking your pendulum for helping you with your work. But basically what you want to do is find some yes and no questions. Now that we've gotten some, we know what our yes and what our no and what our maybe or I don't know answers are. You want to ask a clear, specific question. Something like, is this decision in my best interest? Should I focus on this today? If I have a list of projects, which one of these is most important for me to focus on? And try not to, if you get an answer that you don't understand, rephrase the question and ask again. If you get an answer that you don't like, I'm sorry, but move on, take a deep breath. If you try and ask the same thing over and over, it'll get confused and your emotions will get involved and it just gets muddy, and then it's not a good indication. That is you, the human being, interfering with getting the guidance that you're saying that you want. So another tip is, it's really tricky if you're trying to ask something about another person. Does this person like me? Is this person mad at me? That's really hard because tapping into the energy of another person without permission is not cool. So you need to ask something from your own perspective. Am I secure in my job? Am I secure in my relationship? And try and rephrase it in a different way. So it's about you, not about somebody else. And then you'll get the best, most accurate information. So how I use mine every day, I actually use mine almost daily, surprisingly. And I was making a list of all the different ways I use it. And it kind of cracks me up because I use it more than I actually thought I did. One of the things that I use it a lot for is food expirations and supplements. I have a really weird thing about, I'm scared of expired food. I don't know if I was sick at one point or whatever, but if I have something in my cupboard that is questionable, I will actually put my pendulum over it and say, is this bread still good to eat? Is this milk still good? Is this can of beans still good? And it will give me a yes or no, and most of the time it's yes. A couple times it's no, and then I pitch it and I don't worry about it. Better safe than sick is what I say. I use it on my supplements. Is this a good thing for me to take? Now, total side note, I am not an expert. I am not a doctor. I am not telling anybody to do anything. This is for entertainment purposes only. But I take a lot of supplements, and I have ones that my doctor recommends, and then ones that I take vitamin C and zinc and the things to, so you don't get a cold. Or I'll have something that I've been taking and then it drops off my list, and I'm like, well, should I continue taking this? And I use my pendulum to help with that. And, the supplements are herbal supplements and things like that. I would never do this with medication. I also use mine when I'm packing orders for other people, or if I'm giving crystals to somebody. I will use my pendulum and either over my hand or over a crystal and say, is this a good one for Susan? Is this a good one for Angela? Or if I'm picking a tumble, does this person need rose quartz? Does this person need labradorite? And I will keep going until I get my yes answer. And that is how I intuitively select crystals for people. And sometimes if somebody orders something from me and I have a few of the same thing, or I have a jar of tumbles, I'll spread them out on my desk and use my pendulum and kind of narrow it down. because I do believe that crystals kind of find their people. So I use my my intuition and my energy, and have my spirit guides help me select something that's best for somebody else. It's also good when you're gifting something, is if you're trying to decide, just would this person appreciate this today? So that's another way I use my pendulum. You can use it for a chakra checkup on yourself. Now, when I do this, I have actually a little sheet that I printed out. It's a representative of, there's kind of loosely a body there, but all the chakras are represented here. And I use this as a substitute for my own body, because I don't know how to do myself so I can get this above my actual chakras. But I will use this as a representation and go through and say, is my root chakra blocked today? No. And I will go up, is my sacral chakra blocked today? No. And I will keep going up, is my third eye blocked today? Yes, it is. So what can I do to help with that? So then I will go through and say, my third eye is blocked today. What crystal will help me resolve this? Should I use amethyst? No, it doesn't want me to work with amethyst. Should I work with smoky quartz? No. Should I work with labradorite? Oh, labradorite, it wants me to carry one. So I will grab a labradorite, meditate with it today. Actually have my little guy here that I just love and use all the time. So this is one that I will carry and meditate with and try and open up my third eye today. Labradorite, magic and protection, one of my favorites. So there's another way that you can do a checkup on your energy, see if something is out of balance, and then get recommendations for crystals to help you work through that. I use it to select crystals for meditation. Sometimes I have some that I go to quite a lot, or if I just see one that sparkles at me, I know I need to grab that. But if I'm trying to decide between a couple, is this the best one? Should I use them together? I use my pendulum to help me select tumbles. If I'm putting some in my pocket for the day. Usually I go by intuition, but sometimes I'll start getting crystals and there's way too many. And so I'll say, okay, do these three want to be together today? Do these want to be together today? Which one should I eliminate? And the pendulum will help me decide that. And then the other way, the last way for today for my little list of the way I use a pendulum is for clarification when I'm pulling tarot cards. Sometimes I shuffle and I want the card to jump out. I don't have a specific number of shuffles. I just wait until it feels right. And sometimes the card will like fall on the floor and that's pretty obvious. And sometimes they'll stick out sideways. And sometimes two or three will come out, and I'll use my pendulum to clarify, is this the card I'm supposed to receive for this answer? And this actually is super helpful because sometimes it'll say, no, that's not the card, and you put it back. So it's just another tool that you can use to help tap into your energy. So now, talking about pendulums, at the beginning I said it doesn't have to be a crystal pendulum. It can be anything. However, a crystal pendulum, depending on what you're asking about, you might want to select a stone that lines up with what your intentions are. If you are in a space where you're asking about love or relationship difficulties, or, personal difficulties, maybe rose quartz calls to you. So you think about it that way. It doesn't have to be anything super expensive. You can get beautiful handmade pendulums on Etsy, or you can get simple ones like this for about 10 bucks anywhere on Etsy or in your crystal shop. You can also take something that you have already. If you have a little clear quartz or a little tumble that you love, that you work with a lot, just take this, wrap some string, a chain, a piece of wire on it, and use that, and it will work just as well, because all you're doing is using the pendulum as a tool to tap into your own energy. So that's my list. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you got some new ideas for ways that you can use your pendulum. Do you have one that you really love, or do you have a vendor that you know that does super cool handmade chains for pendulums? I would love to hear your feedback and how you tap into your energy and use your pendulum. So thanks so much for being with me. Till next time, have a great day. Love you all. Bye.